Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Taylor's gone. Come on, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh, now, here's Jim Coyle.
People, welcome aboard. Happy Friday. Glad to have you along for the ride as we have reached the end of the week with a weather pattern that just doesn't know what it wants to do. We had a perfectly good 6 inches of snow out there, and it had to come along and wipe that out and then replace it with some new stuff that's out there now. Crazy. It's all crazy. Go sell crazy somewhere else. We're all stocked up here, baby. Jim Coyle with you as always. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Friday. Glad to have you. Alec, Lasley, Zach Osterman will join us later on. CFP gets going this weekend. The college football playoffs tonight, as a matter of fact, as Oklahoma and Alabama will tangle to determine the first opponent for the number one Indiana Hoosiers, actually. Tomorrow, the remaining 3 games will take place, determining the remaining field. You've got Oregon playing a JMU team that did you see what Nick Saban said? Which all true. He compared having a team like JMU, not JMU specifically, but he compared having JMU in the college football playoffs and not having a team like Notre Dame akin to having the our AAA champion being allowed into the World Series. I don't disagree with that. Under the way it's set up right now, Notre Dame did not deserve to be in this year's playoff. Now, that's my opinion. But by the same token, I also agree they're better than Tulane. They're better than JMU, most likely. But the thing is, you get the chance to settle that on the field. And Notre Dame had that same opportunity. The problem was they keep losing at home. They keep scheduling weak-ass opponents. They're not in a conference. You can't judge them because if you look at their schedule, 1/3 of their schedule, 4 of their opponents were 4 Power 4 conference last place teams. 4 teams from dead last. 1 from the SEC, the last place Arkansas Razorbacks from the SEC. Last place Purdue from the Big Ten. The 2 last place teams from the ACC. So, you know what? I agree that Notre Dame's probably better than those. Now, I don't. It's not about Notre Dame to me. It's those teams don't deserve to be in. Let's be honest. One thing is not like the other. I'm sorry. I mean, nice season, JMU. Great way to bounce back, Bob Chesney. Congratulations. You got a new job. You're going to UCLA. But this is not a here's your trophy award kind of a deal. I mean, it's big boy football, and Deserve's got everything to do with it now. Not deserve as far as reward, but deserve as far as earning. Now, unfortunately, that is all subjective because of how it's set up. It's not set up simply by winning and losing. It's winning and losing judged by other people. So, you got that going for you, which is nice. Indiana football offensive coordinator Mike Shanahan and Indiana reached a new 3-year deal. Keeps him on par contract-wise, terms-wise with Bryant Haynes, Indiana's defensive coordinator, and Kurt Cignetti's top 2 assistants for a dozen years or more between these two each. Total, not total. Each. It's nuts. That's part of the success. Mike DeCourcy's got a great piece out right now about Kurt Cignetti just won the Sporting News Coach of the Year, the first to receive it 2 years in a row in their history of giving that award. 60 plus years. Pretty, the only one he didn't win is the Football Writers Association of America. And I think that must have been somehow dominated by the Southern writers. It went to Clark Lee, the guy at Vanderbilt, which, hey, great season, great job. And probably in any other year, yeah, you deserve it. I mean, did a hell of a job. You know, I can't say anything other than that. Vanderbilt, what they did. Gee whiz. This was also, it was Indiana, and they're 13-0, and they're Big Ten champions. They beat number 1 Ohio State. They didn't lose 3 games. They went to Oregon and won. So, no, I think the Coach of the Year award should have gone where it should have gone. I don't care. I don't have a skin in that game. I just call it out. Hey, all of our Bloomington peeps. Got a nice brand new shiny Dave & Buster's. They've got specials for all the IU games. The Rose Bowl coming up. $10 wings or 10 wings for $10. Not $10 wings. $10 for 10 wings. $5 drafts, $5 margaritas. Great place to catch the game with family or friends or both. Bring the kids, let them go play games. And on Sundays are fun day. Half price games for the kids. Plan your next watch party or birthday party or both at Dave & Buster's in Bloomington. Proud new sponsor of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Glad to have them. Glad to have you. Very happy to have you. Ohio must have really, really wanted to be rid of their football coach, Brian Smith. He was another coach this week that was unceremoniously booted for cause, but this was a little different. He seemed to be shocked because the reasoning was for having a relationship, an out-of-marriage relationship, although he was separated and in the process of getting a divorce. So they kind of stepped on themselves there, and then they said that there was a report of him drinking at an event. A report. There was no proof. There was a report. That's their cause. That's the reasoning for cause, so they don't have to pay the buyout. Well, I got news for you. This has got LSU written all over it with just a lot less money. This is a poor man's LSU deal here, screwing it up just as badly. Boy, when you can, sometimes you can just tell when people are chirping, flopping those gums, you're like, you might want to stop. This school might want to go about this a different way, because if I'm that coach, not only do I want my buyout, I want a little extra now. You want to drag me through the mud? Okay, let's do it. Let's take these gloves off. Yeah. The school claims he brought disrepute, scandal, and ridicule to the school. Well, I didn't even know about it, or neither did anybody else until they decided to broadcast it and create this ridiculousness. Drinking in his office. Yeah, I think he was drinking some bourbon that was given to him by the husband of the president of the school. Tonight, Alabama and Oklahoma going at it to determine Indiana's opponent in the college football playoffs. Who you got? Why? I mean, we can all flip a coin and pick them, and that's about what you'd be doing. But availability reports coming out. Now, I've seen, I haven't looked at either of tonight's yet. Might want to do that. But Oregon's got a lot of guys out, a lot of receivers that they've got out. We'll see how that impacts them. But they're playing at home against JMU. You want to talk about a team that I mentioned JMU a moment ago. They also have the biggest disadvantage. What chance does JMU legitimately have at winning this game? I wonder. Now, the thing is, we can think we know. I mean, yeah, in all likelihood, probably a 90% probability that Oregon wins the game. It's not 100%. And as long as it's not 100%, that's a problem. You can't just assume it. But JMU is traveling all the way from Virginia, which is over here on this right coast, all the way up and out to that far left corner up there in Oregon. Can they overcome the travel? Can they overcome all of the, the disparity and everything? I don't think so, but I don't think they should be in the damn playoff. Again, it is what it is. If it's 12-team playoff, why would you have anybody in it that is not one of the best top 12 teams? First of all. But secondly, this subjective crap, it's crap. The SEC has got good teams, but they don't have that many better teams. But it's perception. It's all about perception. Perception becomes reality. Rudy pointing out that JMU has a 0.01 chance. Now, I don't know if that's coming from some kind of metrics or his own. Well, Russell, it's not, yeah. Russell says JMU has some time to travel to Oregon. I didn't think that they were in a rush to get there or that they were late or anything. You're adding in the travel. It's not about having the time. Then you're out in a different time zone. So now you're changing the entire. That's not what they did during the season. They didn't travel 3 time zones away 3 days ahead of time. So you're getting out of your rhythm. Brian says, take Oregon and all the points. Take Ole Miss and all the points. Ole Miss. Is Ole Miss susceptible? I think they might be. They're taking on Tulane team that they've already beaten once, but they're without their coach. And how much of an impact will it really make? They're going to have a home game. So we shall see. Brian says the Ole Miss crowd will be roaring. Yeah, my daughter will be right up in it. Enjoying the heck out of it. Happy for her. She'll get to do that. Next year for Indiana, for quarterback. We'll talk about that a little more, a little later. Who's going to fill that role? A lot of fans are just expecting that it's going to be Alberto Mendoza. And I'm, of course, if you listen to the show, you know, I don't think that that's going to be the case. I'm not saying that it cannot be the case. He will have the opportunity to compete against whomever they bring in. But I think that they end up bringing in a fifth-year guy like Sam Levitt or Josh Hoover, who is also going to be entering the portal. Former commit to Indiana. Brennan Sorsby, all indications are that he is heading to Texas Tech. Great for him. You know, that comes with a payday. Cody Campbell getting out the checkbook. How you spell that? Sorsby. Thank you very much. Let's change that. Coyle. Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much. Jason says Josh Hoover's a great quarterback. Absolutely. He is. I think he has the most yards. If he were as a returning quarterback, he's thrown for the most yards of any. Over 9,000 yards, I believe. Josh Hoover also fits the mold. He's a really he's a great guy, I hate to call him a kid. Hell, gee whiz. He's been in college for 4 years now. But super good person. Fits that mold. Has been successful already. But you can tell is hungry. He wants to go to the next level. As do they all. But this is a guy that I think would want to come to Indiana. Well, I think that a lot of them are, though. To play for Curt Cignetti. I'm not going to lie. As a quarterback. I think Curt Cignetti is going to have a 3 to 4 year run. It may be longer than that, but right now, you bring in, let's say, we'll say it's Josh Hoover, just for argument's sake. You bring in Josh Hoover, he becomes the starter next year. You'll go Curtis Rourke, Fernando Mendoza, Josh Hoover. Then it's going to be Alberto Mendoza. And it could be Alberto for 2 seasons. That is setting up great quarterback play and setting up the room. But quarterbacks are going to be knocking down the door to get into Bloomington. Got plenty coming up. Glad to have you along on this Monday. Snowy. A little snowy. We've got more coming up. Later on, Zach Osterman, Alec Lasley will join us. Talk more about the quarterback situation for Indiana. And Memorial Stadium later on when Zach joins us. Renovations are coming. How's everybody doing? Stay warm. It's a chilly one. Up and down, up and down. Back with more right after these messages. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue. And you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, on this Friday. I hope everything is going well for you and staying out of the little blistery outside. A little snow back on the ground after having it, getting rid of it. Now it's back again. What are you going to do? But stay out of it. Best thing, if you can keep from it. Not everybody can. Got stuff going on this weekend. Got some basketball happening. A lot of football to watch. College football playoffs starting tonight. Oklahoma, Alabama. That will determine who Indiana plays in their first game in the Rose Bowl, which is going to be very entertaining either way. Indiana against Oklahoma. Indiana against Alabama. Big Ten SEC matchup. Both of those opponents are blue bloods of the college football world. So it will give Indiana yet another opportunity. Question, though, is Oregon a blue blood? My answer is no. What have they won? They've been good, but what have they won? You got to win to be a blue blood. You can't just win. Hell, if that's all it took, then that would make Miami and Texas Tech blue bloods. But it still gives Indiana an opportunity to play yet another blue blood. You got Ohio State that they did play and beat. Now you're going to have this one, and there will be, and if you win that game, you get another chance, and then another one after that. I mean, this will be the most, I think, the most deserving national champion in a long, long time if Indiana can complete this deal. They would end up going 16-0 in football. What is that exactly half of? Oh, yeah. 32-0, baby. Wouldn't that be ironic? Have both the last undefeated football and basketball teams. Crazy. Hey, before I forget, man, Greg Biffle, NASCAR driver, former NASCAR driver, but very, very popular. Just tragic news yesterday. His family, I'm assuming he was flying the plane. I think he was a pilot. But plane crashed at Statesville, North Carolina, which is north of Charlotte, about an hour due north. Crashed at the airport landing, killing everyone on board. He had his 5-year-old son, I think a 14-year-old daughter, maybe, or a 9-year-old. I don't remember, his wife, and I think 3 other people. But just But just a tragic situation. And thoughts and prayers out to all those involved. Sad, man. He was a very, very popular dude. He was funny as hell. Just a good one. He was not flying the plane. 2 pilots on board. They took off, had an immediate issue, tried to circle back to land. Yeah. Bad deal. Not a good deal. Russell says, do not be fooled that IU is not talking with their next QB or at least planning their course at this time. I don't know what that means. Doesn't make sense. Also, Fernando's latest. Did you see that there is a thoroughbred horse now named Mendoza? This is a legit horse. It's in the Bob Baffert stable, people. Yeah, big time. Not only that, if you're on Twitter, which it's the opposite of Facebook, which is like I stay away from Facebook if at all possible. But Twitter's mainly sports information. But so this is where Tom Ryan is one of the connections, one of the owners, decided to name. They had been looking for a name for their new colt. I had been searching for a name for our Gunrunner colt out of Champion Songbird. When I watched Mendoza's post-Heisman interview, it felt like a perfect fit. Here's to a great 2026 for the man and the horse. It's a 2-year-old colt in 2026, so that means B3 next year should be eligible for the Derby in 2027. Got the breedings, got the bona fides, baby. Got the bona fides. It's a pretty cool post. Got the got the Adidas poster of Fernando, picture of this awesome looking chestnut thoroughbred, but something nobody else caught. Kind of a horse person, I guess. But looking at the lineage of the horse on the top, which would be the paternal side, in which some of you may already know this, but when you're looking at the lineage of a horse thoroughbred, they list the sire on top, the dam or the female down below, and then it just goes, in each direction. Who they're out of, who they're at, that. If you look on the upper side, Gunrunner was this horse's sire, father. I am your father. His sire was by a horse named Candy Ride, who was out of a horse named Candy Girl, who was by Candy Stripes. Yeah. So that's a lot to make all that work. But legitimately, there's a horse that was named Candy Striped in the lineage. Candy Stripes. Candy Stripes. Just kind of got me to thinking. I didn't have time to draw, but that would have been funny to put some, they use, sometimes they'll, if a horse has white, the bottom of their legs are white, they call them socks. It'd be funny if they could create some vertical crimson stripes and create a little candy stripe action. Coach Griff going to join us for a little bit before we get to the other guys. I was just reading through, did you see the thoroughbred that Fernando Mendoza, the thoroughbred? Well, did you look at the lineage of that horse?
And I saw a little bit, not the entire.
Well, all the reason I asked was I assume most people don't really look at it. I was just explaining I did, and if you look in there, he goes back to a horse named Candy Stripes.
Oh.
And I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, I bet you the connections have no idea.
No. I think that was hey, that kid did a great job at the Heisman. I'm going to name my horse after him.
That's what he said. I mean,
that's kind of what he said, right?
Said they were looking for a name, and here's what I'm thinking: if I'm these guys, I don't know that I would give it now, knowing that he's got money and will always have money because he's going to be rich. Well, rich by my standards from now on. Either sell him a piece of the action or give him a piece of the action. Get old Fernando involved in that. I would have him involved in that, baby.
Or Alberto. Maybe they can give him an NIL deal to do some things with
but he's not named after Alberto. He's named after Fernando.
He's just using his last name. So, I mean, you could
but it was. But either way, I'd get Fernando involved, and I'm sure Fernando, I would say, hey, we'll either give you 2%, which that's a lot. We're talking $1 million horses, number one. Number two, these are Derby legit stock type horses.
Yeah. Bafford's got
so I would, it's in the Bafford camp. I mean,
it's top-notch
straight
camp.
up legit. I would get Fernando involved no matter what. I would try to get him involved. I would either offer him, hey, would you be interested in buying this? So,
yeah, I mean,
they do it all the time. I would definitely do it as a discount.
Yeah, they do it all the time now. There's even companies out there that you can actually put money into as a group and own horses. I think one of the Derby winners a couple years back actually was owned by a group of people that did it that way. They put all their money in and became partners in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, can you imagine if that horse makes it to the Derby? I think it's, still in the yearling stages. So a couple years from now, even if he races in the Derby preps, he could be right there in Miami in Mendoza's hometown down there at Gulfstream.
It would just be another crazy story.
Yeah. Cherry on top of it all.
I mean, I don't know that this is good. I'm not going to finish that sentence. But everything comes to an end. But right now, Indiana football is set up. It's set up to be good for a minute because it hasn't even the snowball is just now getting rolling. As far because you're just now starting to see recruiting impact.
Right.
And there is going to be recruiting impact now. It didn't happen after last season. I mean, I'm not saying it didn't happen at all, but I don't think I would call it impact on after last. This is going to be
brand
impact.
Awareness. Yeah.
This is going to be impact.
Yeah. I thought last year gave them a little bit more brand awareness within schools that they walked into. Now I do think, like you do, that this is now beyond that because of what's transpired this year on a national level, as well as Fernando's winning the Heisman and Coach Sig winning multiple Coach of the Year honors. You got
the only one he didn't win was the Football Writers Association of America, and it went to Vanderbilt's coach. But I don't know. I'm like, I get it. He had a great year, and any other year he probably wins it in any other year. But it's not any other year, unfortunately.
No,
for
right.
him. It's a year that Kurt Cignetti has done what he has done with what he's got. So,
and they've both done great. I mean, at two schools that you would not associate what's going on, both of them. But
I agree. But how do you say that a 9-3 coaching job is better than a 13-0 coaching job in
Oh,
Indiana.
no.
I'm sorry, you can't.
Right.
You
right.
can't.
No,
You can't.
no.
You can't. So
Hey, Josh Hoover is in the portal from TCU, a name to keep an eye on because I'm
he's
doing.
going to be the name. He's going to be the name. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I following up on Zach's article there on the Hoosier, where he laid out the kind of the returning players, kind of the what the roster may look like after this season is completed. I'm kind of looking at it, going through it. I'm going to do a video following up based upon that article, but it's an interesting dynamic because they're going to have some legit portal needs again this year because of
defensive line, probably.
Well, you got about every
spot.
spot. You're going to have, you don't have a returning tight end with any experience. That's number one. You're going to have a wide receiver room that probably needs more bodies in the sense of players. Offensive line will be hit pretty hard because if, Carter Smith comes out, goes to the NFL, that leaves a big void. So it is going to be a important 14 days or however many that is for them to be actively involved in this portal so that guys that they have an interest in are going to be able to, get in and get out in a quick way and hopefully lock some guys up.
Here's a question is, while Indiana's benefiting, we talked about how difficult it may be for teams that go deep, make a deep run because they're still playing, the portal's open. But when you are those teams, that's where guys want to go. Guys want to be playing for you.
Mm-hmm,
they want to be playing in that game. So,
the biggest thing that's changed. Go ahead.
How do you've got the coaches that are focused on the games, and you can't ignore what's going on with the portal because you've got to fill your needs at the same time. So, but how can you do both of those jobs? You have people in those positions. I understand, but you're making the talent evaluations here now quickly while you're still coaching and prepping. So I think that is where maybe you don't get as much time to evaluate a player, to make a decision on a guy. Whatever the case may be, but Indiana is fortunate in the regard because a QB may, hey, I'm going there no matter what. If I can make it happen, no matter what. Indiana's in a great position because they're looking at getting guys like either Sam Levitt or Josh Hoover or what's the
Metzger, the kid from North Texas.
Was it Messick? I've got to see it.
I can't remember.
I've got to see it to pronounce it correctly. Messicker or something. I can't.
Yeah, it's to that extent. But I think he's probably going to go to Okie State where he's
Mestamaker. There it is. I just have to see it written out. Mestamaker. Now now we've got all the irony. Did I take up? See, yeah, we're good. The irony. First of all, Brendan Sorsby's out of the picture. I think he's going to Texas Tech.
Yeah, but they don't need him.
It's not, stick with me here. But the sheer fact that he would have been a possibility. David Jackson in the portal. Josh Hoover, former commit, in the portal. So there's that, just the irony there. I think that if it's not Josh Hoover, who was a former IU commit, I think the odds are, and they may be more so anyway, for Drew Mestamaker from North Texas. But the irony there, Indiana opens the season with North Texas next year. Yeah.
That is irony. Exactly.
I mean, you come here for the information, people, and I got a little of it for you.
There you go.
Yeah, Indiana opens the season. And that's another thing. God dang it. It keeps me jumping. First of all, go back and look at the success that Kennesaw State and Old Dominion had this year. Both won double-digit games, people.
Yeah.
10 games. Indiana is the only team in the country that beat 4 10-win or better teams. Oregon, Ohio State, not bad. You can
Mhm.
laugh at Kennesaw State and Old Dominion if you want. Don't.
Not when they do what they did in their bowl games.
Was it Kennesaw State that lost only to Indiana, to Wake Forest by 1 at Wake Forest, and
Yes, I
I
think that's
forget the
it.
other.
Yeah,
I think it might have been the only game they lost. But yeah, and yet people will not give that credit. How close was North Texas to making the college football playoffs? Very. Next year when they open up with that team, that'll be a long forgotten.
yeah, right.
So,
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, and Old Dominion spanked South Florida, who was a team that beat Florida. So, I mean, we knew how good Old Dominion was.
Which is where Taven Jackson was, right?
He's at Central Florida.
Central Florida.
He was at Central
Boys,
Florida.
There's so much going on here.
But I wanted to go.
A lot of ins and outs, a lot of facets.
What I wanted to say was when you talk about this bowl games or guys in playoffs and recruiting and portal stuff at this point in time, the thing that makes it a little more bearable, I guess you could say simpler in some respects, is the fact that you now have these robust scouting departments, per se, a GM that's ahead of it all, that is spending the entire football season, recruiting, watching tape of, true recruits, the 26, 27, 28 class. But on top of kind of keeping a pulse on what may or may not be coming in the portal, so that when those opportunities present themselves, coaches are not sifting through a bunch of information. These guys are sitting there with that information at at SIG's grasp. And that way, they can move. But the case like with Josh Hoover, and this is one thing I thought was very interesting, just like Stephen Daly, they've had previous relationships with a lot of these kids that have gone other places. And that makes the recruiting of that kid a lot simpler as opposed to meeting someone for the first time. Stephen Daly, JMU, they tried to get him in, lost him to Kent State, but that's why he ended up at Indiana. So now you look at Josh Hoover, same thing. There's already a relationship there. And it made me a better opportunity.
That relationship was not with this staff, though. And no one on this staff.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say there in that respect, that's right, it would be his familiarity with.
Well, yes, but what you're saying, it makes sense, and that also goes to show talent evaluation.
Exactly.
You were trying to get Stephen Daly, couldn't get him, got him later, and look what happens when we get him.
Yeah, you don't want to burn a bridge in recruiting because you never know what may come back to you. As we know. Now. 18-year-old kids, they're going to make a decision. They may look at it and say, that's the greatest decision I've ever made. And they get there and find out it's not as rosy as they thought it would be. And they realize they should have been in Indiana or another school. You know how that goes. So you always can get kids on that, but that helps in the revaluation of those portal kids because like Sig wants, he wants production over potential. And a lot of guys that are going to go in the portal, there's very few that have the background, the data like he wants to see, because a lot of kids in the portal are guys that have been, second teamers, third teamers. So it'll be, but it's going to be an interesting 14 days. And I really do think they limited this portal this year in terms of days available to prevent as much of team hopping as we've seen in the past years. So I doubt if we see a lot of these guys get picked up at other places, they may revert back to their own institutions when they find out their value isn't as good as they thought it was.
Yeah, Brian putting up Josh's numbers, which are pretty good.
He's really good.
66% completion rate, which is nice. Not in the elite category. It's pretty good, but it's not in elite. But I think that goes up when you get in a different situation, like say Indiana. We've seen that happen every year. He also threw for 34, almost 3,500 yards, 8.5 yards per catch, 29 TDs to 13 interceptions, a few too many INTs. But overall, that's a pretty damn good QB rating of 153, because I'm sure he threw a bunch of times putting up. So that's, to me, he is the fit. I mean, you're not going to go wrong with Sam Levitt. You're not going to go wrong with Mestamaker. But I think that Mestamaker and Hoover are the two best fits, with Hoover maybe being the guy because his personality, it just fits. He's got that. He's got what I love in a quarterback. Deadhead.
Yeah.
He's a deadhead. No emotion, just is able to play the game. Like Fernando's a unique individual. He's a very, very emotional person, but he doesn't play the game emotionally.
Right. Yeah,
is a downfall.
Right.
Hey, we've got to take a break. Coach Griffin's with us. More coming up. We'll talk more tonight. College football playoff getting underway. And before I forget, make sure you go subscribe to thehoosier.com. Got to get rid of some. I got a few more of these. Got to get rid of. Got some quarter zips. These are IU. I got some IU IU.
That's right up my alley.
An IU embroidered quarter zip with the ISB logo on there. If you subscribe today, send me an email to Indiana Sports Beat Radio at gmail.com. No, it's Indiana Sports Beat at gmail.com. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Indiana Sports Beat at gmail.com. Just send an email showing the confirmation of your subscription and your address. Get it. I'll send it to you for free. Get rid of those things. But you also get entered into the Christmas giveaway the Hoosier.com is doing, worth over $400, man. Some sweet merch. More coming up. We're back with it right after these messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. What's it like up north there, Coach, up in Fort Wayne, where our good friends listening on 1380, The Fan, Fort Wayne's only sports station. Keep it locked right there. Just like if you're in Hammond, Chicago, do the same. You're listening on 1230 AM 104.7 FM WJOB, the voice of the region. And Sam doing a great job up there, by the way, man. They kill it up there with great content, cover the entire Chicago area. We're very happy to be on there with second largest Indiana alumni base in Chicago, right out at, behind Indianapolis. And we've got a big announcement coming soon. Every time I think we can let it out, it's got to hold on to it. So it's right to the very end.
Uh-oh. Got to keep it under wraps for a little while, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like it's this national secret or anything.
But you need to let out little teasers.
Yeah.
Guess the announcement. But to answer your question, it is cold up here in the north, overcast and cold after yesterday's torrential downpours that we received up here. It was crazy. It went from 50 degrees in a matter of 12 hours. It was back down to 20 degrees. And I'm guessing the holidays are looking nice and warm. For Christmas.
It's been kind of a weird, it has definitely been a weird weather pattern. I mean,
it has over the last couple of weeks.
It was Arctic. I mean, Arctic not that long ago. And then, first of all, it was really warm. Then it was Arctic. Then it snowed like hell. We just had within a week 6+ inches of snow here. Gone. Then gone. Today you wake up, snow frosted again. And I'm like, dude, make up your mind. In between rain, 50-degree weather in between. It's like
blizzards.
That's how people get sick here, boy. I don't know why I don't, but
yeah. I'm like in the snow, let it snow and then melt it like a day or two later. I'm in that camp. When the snow hangs around is when it start getting really cold. But it's a little wet, overcast, and cold up here in the great north, as we say. But it's big night tonight, like you said. College football playoffs are on tap. And this weekend, there's going to be a lot of really good football on from today all the way through.
I mean, I spent a lot of time talking about Oklahoma and Alabama, which takes place tonight and will determine the Rose Bowl opponent for Indiana, which is going to be interesting because either way, that's going to be fantastic, Coach. Alabama, Oklahoma, both blue bloods, gives Indiana another chance to take on a blue blood program and to continue to notch history. Every game with them right now is history. Everything they do is history.
Yeah, every step, right. It'll be an interesting game tonight because I think, I do believe Alabama is the better team, A to Z. Not to say that Oklahoma is chopped liver because they are also a very good team. But you got to feel that Kellen there at Alabama's, there's a lot of pressure on that staff just because of wanting to get to that next step after losing to Georgia. It'd be bad for an early exit, and in my opinion, as it pertains to the fan base and all. But that should be a really good dandy of a ball game. Then you got Miami and Texas A&M. That one is going to be an interesting dynamic because you get a team that's more throwing their way through the games with Miami. Carson Beck, can he throw it to the right colored jersey? Because that's usually been his MO.
We've got a minute, so let's take them all three in like 15-second increments. So Miami, Texas A&M, who you got in that game? I'm going with Miami.
I'm going to say Texas A&M at home.
Keep it all right. Let's see. Who is you pick the next game?
Oh man, you're asking me to go off memory now. Jeez. Did we go out?
Oregon JMU.
That's not a good one.
Oregon should win that game easily.
Totally in Ole Miss. That's not a good one. You think Ole Miss is going to, roll in that one?
Will the coaching come into play? That'll be something interesting to see. But looking forward to it, man. Appreciate it as always. Enjoy the weekend.
You got it, partner.
Coach Greff joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We have got plenty more coming up. Zach Osterman, the IU Insider for the NZ Star, will join us back with plenty more right after these messages. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday, coming to you. Hope you're staying warm, dry, and whatever else you need to stay to make it an enjoyable. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star joins us, as he does each Friday. How are you, sir?
Hey, how are you doing?
Cannot complain. I'm inside rather than out, so that always makes it a lot better. Zach's got his little 5 hat on. Are you still captain for helping out with one of those teams?
Loosely. And I've stepped back from a lot of it, but
Zach doesn't commit to a lot. He's just and no we didn't get the jersey effect today. What do we got going today? Zach always has great
an Outcast
greatest wear.
Stankonia.
Nice. Man, there is so much going on. First of all, Zach, with Indiana football is a constant whirlwind that it does. Not only is it not slowing down, it just continues to pick up steam. I'm surprised that and I wouldn't be surprised if it starts to happen. People start getting Indiana lash or Signetti lash because both are everywhere. They're omnipresent because it's a great story. But I'm sure a lot of these teams or coaches are, I'm sick and tired of hearing about that, and gives them more reason to want to try to be on the other side of that win. But it's just been amazing to see all of this, and it just continues to add to what is going on, and capped off right just now by the Heisman, not to say that there's not more coming.
Yeah, our mutual friend Mike Glasgow said it best yesterday. He just said, this is kind of what life looks like from the top. And when you're obviously never permanently on top, but we see this with, we've seen this with Georgia in the past. Obviously, we've seen this with Alabama, with Ohio State, Oregon. When you are kind of in that, when you're in that spot, when you're at that level, you kind of get your turn to be, winning a bunch of All-America honors or a Heisman Trophy or Coach of the Year stuff, or, in season when you're getting Player of the Week and, national watch lists and different things like that. I mean, Indiana's the number 1 team in the country. They're the only undefeated team in America. There's a reason why all this stuff is landing at their feet right now. It's earned. Now, this is I wonder to what extent we will recalibrate in college football as the playoff expands. Because 15 years ago, if Indiana was in this position, there would only be 1 game left on their schedule. And there would still be, I think, this sort of zero-sum idea that if you are 13-0, you cannot waste the opportunity to win a national championship. Well, now Indiana's got to win 3 games to win a national title, and they're going to be one of the favorites to do it. But the point is, all it takes is one bad day, or all it takes is the wrong sequence of injuries or an opponent that came up with a really clever plan. I heard you talking with Shannon about, maybe does Indiana want Oklahoma? Does Indiana want Alabama? Who would they see in the next round after that? Yada, yada, yada. The point is, I think we're probably moving to a place where we can contextualize these seasons before they've finished and just say this was really special. And obviously it is, of course, in the history of Indiana football. But it's also just one of the special seasons, frankly, that we've seen from a Big Ten program in the last 10 years, 15 years, 13-0, a Big Ten championship, a win at Iowa, a win at Oregon, a win at Penn State, beat Ohio State in the Big Ten title game, a Heisman Trophy winner, a Coach of the Year kind of honored across the board. These are just things that, that this is just kind of, like I said, what Glass said the other day, this is what life looks like from the top. And Indiana may still be there in a month. They may not. That does not diminish what they've achieved this season.
Oh, there's absolutely no way, because they backed up what they did last year when they were questioned, and the few hiccups they had, they fixed and moved forward. So yeah, anything they could lose this first game, and while it would be very, very disappointing, in addition to it, that would be an upset. But still, you can't knock a 13-1 season. This is a team that can go 13-1, and it's incredible. They can go 16-0, and it's even more incredible. But it doesn't matter. It's already incredible. You've got the Heisman Trophy winner. You've won the Big Ten championship, and most importantly, the snowball is rolling. It kind of last year, I think the snowball just got packed, recruiting wise, program wise. Now, after doing what they did, backing it up, Big Ten win, number one. Now this thing is rolling. It's off the hill, and it's going to just gain momentum, and it's going to continue to gain momentum. They can add to that or just go with it however. But it is now rolling forward, Zach, and this program, it's in play. And I don't see it slowing down anytime soon, because it's just iron sharpens iron. That's the old, but it's true. And that's going on with Indiana right now.
I do think that's where the portal has changed, a lot of this. I mean, like, my sense is actually that some aspects of the portal market have stabilized a little bit, that like we can all, broadly speaking, agree on what a starting free safety should be getting, not like your Caleb Downs, but just like a good solid safety, or a nickel corner, or a running back who knows he's going to be in a 2 or a 3 back rotation, that kind of thing. But I think that the market that continues to climb is, more than any other, is quarterback. And I think that is because it's not just that it's the most important position on the field, although it obviously is. It's that we live in a world now where you never have to get the quarterback question wrong again. And if you've got the right, rev share plus NIL structure, if you've got the right offense, the right coaches in place, the right sort of pedigree, and of course, Indiana, I mean, if you look at Kurt Cignetti going back to JMU, his last 4 quarterbacks have all been transfers, and every one of them has been, at minimum, I think Todd Centeio was all conference. Jordan McLeod was conference player of the year. Curtis Rourke was all conference and got drafted. Now Fernando Mendoza's Heisman Trophy winner, potential first-round pick, I think likely first-round pick at this point. Indiana is one of those schools that can look to the portal and can say, we never have to get that question wrong. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to take a portal QB, although we've seen them mentioned with Brendan Sorsby, who I suspect may have more of an NFL versus college decision to make in the coming days. We've seen them linked to Sam Leavitt. I thought it was interesting to see them linked to Josh Hoover, who, if he comes back to college next year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, will be the leading active career passer in the FBS.
Over 9,000 yards. Yeah,
of course, was once committed to Indiana. Decommitted. If you really want to think about the sequence of all this, just because it's amusing how the carousel turns, decommitted from Indiana when Indiana switched from Nick Sheridan to Walt Bell. Walt Bell was the one who helped Indiana find Brendan Sorsby. When Brendan Sorsby left, Alberto Mendoza flipped his commitment from James Madison to Indiana in part to backfill the quarterback need with Sorsby gone. Alberto Mendoza helps Indiana, I think it's fair to say now land Fernando Mendoza, and now Fernando Mendoza is probably headed for the NFL when this is all over with. I think that's a safe assumption, and Indiana may be looking to Josh Hoover as competition, or maybe, I suspect maybe like a 1-year bridge to Alberto Mendoza. But that's, that is what's changed, in the sense that, again, and I say the phrase 10 years ago a lot, but I think it's important to recognize like where things were and how dramatically they've shifted. 10 years ago, if you got that question wrong, you were just kind of stuck. Maybe you could go get a transfer. Maybe you could find like a 1-year grad transfer kind of player who, really sort of stuck to, the basics of your system and didn't make a ton of mistakes and just bought you a year, but part of the reason that we saw Cam Newton, for example, as such a unicorn was because the idea of a 1-year quarterback rental that could come in and be so, rental is not the right word, but a quarterback that you knew you were getting for just one season that could come in and be so impactful. That just wasn't an option for most people. If you think about like, how did Auburn land on Cam Newton? Well, he went to junior college for a year after being, like a 5-star prospect at Florida and everything that happened there. Now, I don't want to say there are a half dozen Cam Newtons in the portal every year, because there aren't, Cam Newton was a generational player. But there are a half dozen players in the portal, quarterbacks in the portal every year, that if you put the right pieces in place around them and you give them the right platform, they can give you the same kind of impact that we saw Auburn get from Cam Newton, that we saw LSU get from Joe Burrow, at least at a basic level. Not necessarily like, every transfer is going to win the Heisman, of course. But the idea that you can go recruit someone, that means that you'll have to transform your offense a little bit, but you will never have to worry about getting the quarterback question wrong again. That is what's new. That is what's different. And if you can build, and that's true to an extent at other positions too. I think that's, I suspect that might be true. We'll see how the portal develops. I would not be shocked if that's true at receiver for Indiana potentially. I think we're going to see Indiana involved with some really intriguing defensive prospects. But the point is, if you can, make it clear to people, make it clear to players and agents and families that you're going to consistently put their children, their clients, their players in positions to succeed, then no, the ball does not stop rolling. It just, you're just constantly modifying the direction in which it rolls.
Yeah, you mentioned it's probably a more of a collegiate or NFL decision for Brendan Sorsby. I think it might be the same for Josh Hoover as well, who has kind of shown his wares. But I also think that he and I can't say that I know this, but he's a great kid. I shouldn't call him a kid anymore, but great guy, very smart, very intelligent, obviously very talented. But more importantly, I think that he knows that there's maybe more that he could get. And not only would another season potentially help him a ton, but a season under someone like Cignetti, where he has seen success, begot to 2 straight different transfer quarterbacks. And I think that he would take advantage of that. But if a GM says, hey, man, we're going to take you with the 5th pick in the first round, he's gone. And I get it. But boy, that would be an absolute perfect match, I think, for Indiana if they could get over. But no matter who they're going to get, I think they'll be fine, because Cignetti, he knows what the hell he's doing. If you don't need me to tell anybody that.
Yeah, no, I think that, one of the great strengths of this staff, consistently has been the ability to the demonstrated ability to build an offense that reflects a lot of Kurt Cignetti's and Mike Shanahan's principles and desires and so forth around a quarterback that adjusts that offense to the quarterback's strengths. Indiana is not doing the same stuff this year they were doing with Curtis Rourke a year ago. Like, I mean, some of it, sure, the total number of run pass option, some of the stuff with Elijah Surratt and the back shoulder throws and things, that is the stuff that maybe is in, especially when you start to see Indiana do that stuff with Charlie Becker too, you recognize, okay, that's actually the way that Indiana builds the offense and develops the receivers. But like Indiana did a lot more vertical stuff this season with Fernando Mendoza than it did with Curtis Rourke last year. Indiana did a lot more tunnel screen, sort of wide action, athletes in space stuff with Curtis Rourke last year than it did with its slot receivers this year. If you think about, how often was Indiana running screen concepts, underneath concepts, 1 and 2 read timing stuff. Now, what we find out, obviously, as sort of time goes on, is Curtis Rourke was playing a lot more injured last season than we thought. And so there were probably some things that that Indiana, which was trying to do to protect him. But the point is, it's 2 different quarterbacks. It's 2 distinct plans within the same philosophical structure of the offense. And then you rewind a year before that, Jordan McLeod, very different quarterback to Curtis Rourke, very different quarterback to Fernando Mendoza. And what I come back to when I have this conversation with people is when Cignetti was hired, it was the easiest assumption to make that Indiana was going to get Jordan McLeod. He was the reigning Sun Belt Player of the Year. He just had an outstanding season with James Madison. And you thought, as long as somebody else doesn't come in and bid over top, that's an easy early win. He had 1 year of eligibility left. He knew the offense. He knew the staff. And Indiana, I don't think, and maybe you remember differently, but Indiana, I don't remember ever being seriously involved with Jordan McLeod. And he wound up at Texas State, and he had a perfectly good season. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like they weren't involved because Georgia jumped in with a $2 million offer and there was just no point. It is probably safe to assume that if Indiana had wanted Jordan McLeod, it could have had him. And yet Indiana went in a different direction because Kurt Cignetti somewhere recognized, no, I'm going to need something different there to what I needed here. Maybe not better, maybe not like demonstrably, this is so much, this is great and that was terrible, but just something different. And that is, I think, one of the great strengths of this staff, of this head coach, is the ability to recognize we need X. And when we have it, we are going to have the right plan to get the most out of that player's talents and abilities at their position.
Yeah, and as I've talked about with the proof in the pudding, Indiana's in a great position because now I haven't talked about money much because I don't know for sure, so there's no point in talking about it. But like Fernando in the 60 Minutes piece, alleged to be making in the neighborhood of $2 million. So let's say it's probably 2.5. That's not bad for a quarterback. That's market price. Basically. It's we're talking lobster, man. It's market price. They're not paying over and above, but someone like Josh Hoover, someone like Sam Levitt want to leverage their experience and abilities, or will they say, you know what, I'm going to trade a little of that for what I think can make me better and get me out on the other side to where I want to go, and that's to the next level. Will they, be willing to take it down a little bit? That's a question I wonder as well.
I mean, again, I think the quarterback market is the one that still hasn't really found anything resembling a ceiling. And it's also the one where you probably have the greatest intersection of sort of like need, return on investment, and the justification for saying, let's pay this player enough to get them to put the NFL off for a year. Like that, it again, like, would you pay a nickel corner enough money for a nickel corner to blow off maybe a 4th round draft grade, go get paid for 3 years, start your pro career, see if you can't carve out a role on special teams and build from there? No, probably not. Not in college, not in most places. Quarterback is still the position where you can justify, because, look at Indiana as an example. Like if we're talking about the list of things that have made it work for Indiana in the last 2 years, very near the top of the list has been that Indiana's gotten the quarterback question right, very right, twice. And if you can justify, if you have the money, I guess, to start with, then you can justify putting an offer down for a player that says enough financially for that player to, again, if like a quarterback's got a 4th or a 5th round grade, say, actually, there's more guaranteed money here. And then there's one more year of development and maybe, listen, we identified this very early on. Like very early on in the NIL process, we said one of the positions that's probably going to be most affected by all this is quarterback, because all these dudes that would jump to the NFL after 4 years and wouldn't care if they were going to be a 5th rounder, 6th rounder, maybe an undrafted free agent, they would take one more year in college because, and it's funny to think about the numbers we were throwing around at the time, but we were saying, you can make $750,000, you can get free rent at a nice apartment, you can live in a college town, you can probably get yourself into a truck for free with a partnership with a local car dealer. Isn't that better than scrapping it out on a practice squad, for a job? Maybe you wind up in the CFL, maybe you wind up cut and you're just floating around. The numbers have gone up. The principle has stayed the same, which is that I think quarterback is the position that is where it is most justifiable to just keep inflating these numbers. And I'm not, we'll hit a point where it stops being justifiable. Maybe we already have. But it's the one where I think it's going to be easiest to convince coaches and convince, personnel people in college to say, just keep pushing that number up, because if you get it right, look what happened to Indiana. Indiana got it right. And boy, did it work out. Ohio State last year. Ohio State got it right with Will Howard. And that wound up being a doubly important decision, because Ohio State got it right with Will Howard, gave Julian Sayin one more year because he was a transfer last year, if I'm not mistaken. And Ohio State got a 2-for-1. And I think you're going to start to see more of that with quarterbacks where, and I'm not predicting this in Indiana or whatever, but I think you're going to start to see some of these deals where maybe you get like a quarterback that's only got 1 year left and you give him $3 million, and then you lock up your backup, your young guy who you like, to a two-year, $2 million deal, and you say, here's $500 this year. We're going to keep you sweet because we don't want you to leave. The promise is next year you're going to go up to 1.5, and you're going to spend a whole year knowing that next year is your year, and we're going to build that natural escalator into your contract. I think
we haven't seen many 2-year deals, if any at all, have we?
What?
And we haven't seen many multi-year deals yet, have we?
Yeah, there are more than you think. I mean, obviously,
there's some, we don't know about them all.
There are some prominent ones. Bryce Underwood at Michigan is one of the big ones. I think the ones that get reported the most are the ones coming out of high school, that wind up on multi-year contracts. But I think more guys than you think are on potential multi-year deals in college, and that doesn't mean they can't be broken, but it does offer everyone a little bit more assurance, if that makes sense.
I know we got to get you out of here, but the last thing is you reported yesterday in the Indy Star, and make sure you can go find that. Zach Osterman with the Indy Star's piece on which we knew was coming, but closer to stadium renovations of Memorial Stadium.
at Indiana, and now they're back to sending out the flyer request, trying to gather information. I'm sure they already have a rough sketch of draft ideas of what they things that they think they need, but they're sending all of this out, and it's been awarded to HOK architecture firm out in St. Louis, which has renowned for doing so many sporting venues. But Indiana is now going to be taking that next step in their facilities, it looks like.
Yeah, this is a very, and I do have to duck out here in a minute, forgive me, but this is a very preliminary thing. Now, I think what's important about it is that they have brought HOK in. HOK will serve as their master planner, which means that HOK will basically, as they develop ideas, more specific ideas of, well, we want this instead of that, or we really want to explore, I don't know, like a mixed use area or whatever. There is what HOK will do is be able to provide them with sort of the expertise to say, okay, we think this is possible. If you want that, you might consider this. You might look over, you might think about what's over here. Let's give you an example of something we did with someone else. They'll be able to say that's feasible, or maybe that's not, or obviously they can talk about costs and things. Indiana's a long way from, like, for example, the point of renderings. But I think it is meaningful that this time around they did put together an RFP, a request for proposal, or a request for RFP is request for proposal.
Yeah.
And they did engage with, HOK and Populous are probably the two big architecture firms in the States that deal in sports in particular. They did engage directly with one of them. That tells me that there's more on Indiana's mind than streamlining concessions and improving the bathrooms. I think those are things that might get touched in this, but I do think Indiana is now, there's a long way to go because Indiana's going to have to raise a lot of money because, they can't pay for it out of operational costs right now, because so much of the day-to-day revenue in the athletics department is spoken for because of rev share and coaching contracts and all these things that have increased so substantially in the last 5 years. But I do think this is Indiana with maybe a more substantial multi-year, multi-phase project in mind, trying to really clarify through, among other things, the responses it gets from its fans over what fans would like to see out of something like this. It's thinking going forward here.
Absolutely. Zach Osterman, make sure you're giving him a follow at the Indy Star and be a subscriber. Keep local papers alive. Appreciate you, my friend. Enjoy your weekend.
You too, Jim. We'll see you.
Thank you, sir. Hey, we got more coming up. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com will join us next. Plenty to talk about. Lots going on with recruiting and more. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. After these messages, Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. I hope you had a great week, and we helped you along somehow. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com joining us now. And Alec, after last week's Heisman and actually the post-ceremony antics of one unnamed participant, I'm sure you saw the many memes or whatever posts that were on X and Instagram that were just cracking me up. There was one that said, "Oh, Diego Pavia was arrested after the Heisman ceremony," and it was a height challenged person being led away in handcuffs. It was just all kinds, but and yet here's yet another one that I hope I can get away with playing. But
quarterback Fernando Mendoza, he won the Heisman Saturday night. Yes.
Mendoza was up against Julian Sayin of Ohio State,
Yeah.
Jeremiah Love of Notre Dame, and evidently Joe Pesci of Goodfellas.
Oh,
Yeah.
You reap what you sow, man. You reap what you sow. And first of all, I'm thinking, I didn't realize that he was like 5'10" or 4'11" or whatever he is until I saw the Heisman ceremony. And I'm thinking, dude, oh, wow, an NFL career. The odds are already short. Bing. But seriously, why would you go? He just threw a stick of dynamite in his NFL prospects already. It's an uphill climb, and then he just made it twice as hard.
Yeah, look, I mean, it was kind of embarrassing, just secondhand embarrassment, just to see everything that he did after the fact, from the party to the post.
The sign. Did you see the sign?
Yeah. So I mean, like everything
what is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, I mean, everything that went into it, right? I mean, his agent probably isn't going to be helping him much anymore. I mean, it just
how happy is the school?
What?
How happy is the school?
Well, I know the Vandy's head coach, his name's escaping me right now. Had his media availability leading up to the bowl game with Iowa. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and just talked about how big of a mistake that was, that what he did. Right. So I mean, I think everyone outside of the small pocket of Vandy fans have been on the side of how embarrassing and kind of disgraceful that was of what he did. Right. You'll get the small pockets of the Vandy fans who are still going to defend him and fight back on him. Should have been the Heisman winner, but I think that just shows what a vast difference. And right, the vote wasn't even close. So all the talk, the lead up to it, of how close is this going to be? Is this our Heisman winner versus is this group's Heisman winner? In the end, I think not only did the play on the field show that Fernando Mendoza was the true Heisman winner, but also just how he carries himself, his morals, his demeanor, his personality, and I think he just capped it off with a terrific speech, and the way that he ended the speech, I think, just shows once again that everyone who voted for him voted the correct way, and the way that he carries himself from day one, even going back to Cal, and just his journey, I think, was just capped off with something that he didn't even do, and that was obviously Diego Pavia's just embarrassing moments and kind of disgraceful moments to the whole kind of college football world at that point.
Reese Davis threw one out there, but because he voted for him to win, and he said he was embarrassed, the regrets doing it. I'm like, all that does is show how badly ESPN is SEC biased. First of all, I'm sorry, there's no way that Diego Pavia had a better Heisman campaign per se than Fernando Mendoza. He didn't lose 3 times. He didn't. He beat 2. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 top 10 teams. 3 didn't lose to him, beat him. And I don't need to. He doesn't need me to defend anything. But it just shows ESPN. There's no way that you can say that. Oh yeah, he doesn't. It's not like he's got a shot in the NFL. They had a great year, just like their coach winning the Football Writers Association of America Coach of the Year honor. Great, they had a great year, but it wasn't the best. But who cares? It's all that stuff's for fans to argue. But it's just that stuff does aggravate me a little bit. I try to stay as neutral as possible, and for an outlet like ESPN, it's obvious. And I will guarantee you across the board, if those guys, whoever has votes on that panel, would have voted SEC. Guarantee you. Now, ironically, the voting there are 6 regions for Heisman, 6 voting regions. Inside the region, there are voters, and there are different per region. But the South region was still won by Fernando Mendoza, although it was the closest one of them all. He still won that one. So there's that. So enough of that stuff. CFP getting underway, recruiting happening for Indiana. It's all kinds of stuff, man. It is that time of year. Find out who they play in the CFP tonight after the game. So it's still a big weekend. Basketball tomorrow. Lots going on.
No, absolutely right. I think this is, it's still crazy to me that you go a month, right, for Indiana without playing a game, from December 6th to January 1st, right? But you finally get the first little bit of structure in place after tonight, where you not only find out who you're playing, but now you have even more kind of storylines and tape to look at and stuff like that, and in the playoff opener, which was a year ago tomorrow, right, was Indiana's opener. So coming full circle for them here this weekend. But look, I think it's going to be a fun game tonight. I think it's a game that, in my opinion, neither team has a chance of beating Indiana, though, in a couple of weeks. I don't think Alabama's defense obviously is good enough to compete with Indiana's offense. Don't think Alabama or Oklahoma's offense is anywhere near good enough to compete against Indiana's defense. So either way, I think this is going to be a good test for Indiana regardless. But I think Indiana is too strong on both sides of the ball to have a letdown. I think the big thing is, right, just how focused and structured and detail oriented that they have been since pretty much Kurt Cignetti got there. A lot of people probably are going to look at Oregon's long layoff last year, right, when they were upset then against Ohio State. But we kind of look at that, and the seeding probably would have been vastly different last year with this year's rules, and Ohio State probably would not have been the 8 or 9 seed, whichever one that they were last year, going into to then play Oregon, right? That seemed more like a national championship game than a quarterfinal matchup. So I think Oregon got a little bit screwed in terms of how the playoff was set up last year. So Indiana gets a little bit of a different schedule this year. Obviously benefits them, I think, in a lot of ways, but still the month layoff, I think, is for a lot of other teams would be a huge issue for this group. I think it's one that probably is more aggravating than anything. This group just they love football so much, they just want to be on the field and playing. But I think with the structure and the detail oriented mindset that pretty much everyone within that program has, right, it's going to be a nice little reset from obviously the major highs that they had just a couple of weeks ago and leading into last weekend. to kind of get a nice reset. And Fernando Mendoza talked about it. I think it was on Monday or Tuesday, right? That now after everything is said and done with the Heisman ceremony, they can all kind of refocus and kind of regroup on what the overarching and the main goal has been, and that's win a national championship. And so I think this kind of break is still good for them, especially with some of the injuries that they have, right? To kind of regroup from an injury standpoint and get fully healthy with a couple weeks off before they do face either Oklahoma or Alabama there in the Rose Bowl.
Absolutely. And it's going to be interesting to see who wins this game tonight. We've heard, so much has been going on. Mateer has had his issues this year after being pushed beyond belief. Well, just think, had he not gotten hurt, I don't know that Fernando wins the Heisman. Not because I don't know if he would have been worthy of it. ESPN wouldn't have allowed it. They were pushing John Mateer to win the Heisman from the first snap of this season. Kirk Herbstreit was just, he was almost in tears already. The first game, that's how that should go. But he's back. I guess he's healthy. Had surgery in the middle of the year.
They talked about it this week that he's still playing through a lot of pain. He's definitely not fully healthy, and you can tell just by his performances and really the drop off of Oklahoma offensively over the past couple of weeks. I mean, they're right around, a little bit less than probably 20 points a game. That's just not going to get it done against Indiana. Could get it done potentially against Alabama, but not going to get it done against Indiana. I mean, you look at 17 against LSU, 17 against Missouri, 23 against Bama. They did have a nice output there against Tennessee. But outside of that, I mean, they just haven't had the true firepower that they had early in the season when they had some good wins, but nothing significant of really big note there. They've been a good team all year, but I think their ceiling is very much capped, whereas Alabama's on the other hand, I think you can see if their offense clicking on all cylinders, they are a very, very good team, which they showed in the middle portion of the season. When it falters a little bit, they're just an average team because they don't have a lot of those game-changing playmakers that we've seen in the past with Alabama. So that's why I think both of these teams very similar in that way, where they're very much capped at what their potential is, and very good, but not great in a lot of different scenarios. Where obviously you look at Ohio State, you look at Indiana, great in multiple different categories, and really have no true weakness there.
Something I wonder, someone asked about Omar Cooper, who has eligibility remaining. Who's going to be the biggest surprise possibly of coming back to Indiana that's an impact player already?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at Omar Cooper, right? Because you see what he has been able to do this year, and that's build off of a great year last year. Maybe he comes back. I don't know. I think a lot depends on this college football playoff run. Obviously, he wasn't able to showcase his skills on kind of the true national landscape there during the Big Ten championship, getting hurt on the first drive and missing the rest of the game. I think if he plays that game, he probably has a big outing, and that probably catapults his stock even more. I think it really all depends on what happens over the course of these potential next 3 games for Indiana. And how he plays, because he's coming back to a wide receiver room that's really him and Charlie Becker, right? I mean, you lose EJ Williams, you obviously lose Jonathan Brady, and then the big one is you obviously lose Elijah Surratt. So a lot of opening there at the wide receiver position. You get Tyler Morris back, but not expected to be kind of that number 2 or even the number 3 that EJ Williams was this year. So you have a lot of question marks. Tight end is a question mark. Right. So he could come back and be, not only the top receiver in the Big Ten, but one of the top in the country. The question remains, though, is are you going to have that type of quarterback play that you had this year to elevate you even more than the year before? So there's a lot of things that you really have to look at. I think, ESPN had him as a, second, third rounder. Right. If you're a second, third rounder, I think you got to go. That's a lot of potential to leave on the table there. and a lot of stock that could hurt by coming back. You get injured, something happens, right? There's just a lot of unknowns at that point to move up maybe one round. And you already see, right, there's not a lot of wide receivers, not a lot of depth at the wide receiver position that goes in the first round. You obviously see wideouts that go in the first round, but it's not like quarterbacks where you see 4, 5, 6 every single year. You see, maybe 2, maybe 3. And it can be argued that he's, still not even top 3 in the country. And the question is, do you want to go this year, or do you want to wait another year where you're going to have Jeremiah Smith coming out and the potential to have even more breakout stars? So I think
Smith's not coming out this year. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he has one more year that he has to stay in, I believe. So there's still a lot that can go into play.
That makes a difference. So yeah, we'll see how it works out. But yeah, you're not going to have a bigger moment. There's no possible chance. You had the biggest moment that has probably been in quite some time and might be for some time with that catch at Penn State. That will be etched in people's mind. He can thank Gus Johnson and Fernando Mendoza and Charlie Becker for that, all 3 of those guys for that. But yeah, you got to make hay when the sun's shining, and the sun is shining on Omar Cooper, baby. So, but yeah, we'll see how that works out. Well, then you got basketball tomorrow. Imagine this. We've talked nothing about basketball all day. The whole show, I've talked zero about basketball. You know why? Who are they playing? Chicago State? I don't even know.
Chicago
State?
Yeah, it 2-10 Chicago State team.
It's football, baby. It's because it's football. It's football time right now. Hey, basketball will be here, but yeah, football's getting their flowers. Basketball's got to get off their ass, and they got to start picking it up. They've got to fix the mistakes that they're making, silly fouls, getting themselves in foul trouble. They know what their deficiencies are. They have to fix them. Stop fouling. Get better, get faster, stop reaching, move your feet, rebound the ball. Rebounding is not an impossibility. It's something you have to actually work on, and they're getting destroyed on offensive rebounds. And it's half of what cost them the game the other night. I mean, you get that, their turnovers, and Lamar Wilkerson getting his 4th foul early in the second half. Boom.
Yeah, to me, two things with that. One, I think I don't know still why Indiana kept Lamar Wilkerson in when he had 2 in the first half. There was no point to keep him in. They had,
because he never does that. He always jerks them as soon as they get that second foul.
I know. Sometimes, well, he'll let Tucker play a little bit. He'll let some of those guys. He always yanks Connerway, always yanks Enright, right? Because those are 2 physical guys that are more likely to pick up that 3rd foul or that 4th foul, whatever that may be. But I think the Wilkerson one was a little bit head scratching because you had, about a 2-3 possession lead. There was no point in keeping him in at that moment. I think the biggest thing that they were trying to do is keep him in that rhythm, right? He's coming off 44 points. He has 12 points in the 11 minutes that he plays in the first half. Was firing on all cylinders, was doing stuff in the mid range, was obviously hitting from 3. Was doing a lot for that team offensively. And, so I think that was the biggest thing, is just try to ride him out. I think that was kind of the first mistake in that one. And obviously, you pick up a 4th foul, and that's when things, went obviously off the rails. But the one thing that you didn't mention, which in my opinion is the biggest issue out of everything that you just talked about for Indiana, is their inability to win one-on-one matchups in the backcourt. Right. I mean, I think at this point it's only going to come from Tate and Connerway. And unfortunately, in my opinion, you can't trust what he's going to do from game to game. With him playing at the level that we've seen in some of these games, right, against Kansas State, albeit he had, a lot of, I think 4 turnovers in like a 6 possession span there in the second half. If you get the Kansas State Tate and Connerway, that your ceiling goes up exponentially. If you get the Louisville in portions and the Kentucky in portions, Tate and Connerway, and the some of these other kind of low impact games that he's had, where he picks up 2 quick fouls and has 4 turnovers and 1 assist and isn't able to get to the rim, the floor for this team pretty much breaks, and it can be very, very low, right? So it's unfortunate that it's going to rest on one player, because for the most part, you're going to get the 15 to 17 points from DeVries and from Wilkerson. You're going to get, now at this point, probably close to 7 to 10 a game from Nick Dorn, right? He's shown that over the last 2 weeks that he's going to consistently get you at least 1 or 2 threes a game and probably get close to that 10-point mark. Even though he didn't shoot the ball well against Kentucky, right? No one did, but still was able to kind of carve out 7 points. But it's always going to rest on Tatum Conaway's ability to get to the rim and make plays for himself, and more importantly, collapse the defense and be able to kick it out and make plays for these 3-point shooters. Because we've now seen with physical wing defenders and length and athleticism, this team is a shell of itself offensively. And it's unfortunate, right, that now you have a clear outline of how to defend this team. We knew rebounding was going to be an issue all year. I think that's been no surprise. We knew lack of front court depth, was going to be an issue at a certain point. Obviously, no one could really plan for the Josh Harris injury to be lasting, 3 months potentially into the season, right? So that was a little bit more difficult to really plan for. But the lack of playmaking and one-on-one ability, we saw it at times with Lamar Wilkerson, but that was against lower level competition. He has the ability to get to his spots in the mid-range and have a nice turnaround, but he's best off the ball getting to the rim. And that's a dangerous game to play, because we've now seen in multiple different games, Minnesota physically just pushes him off the 3-point line. And so they're starting closer to half court than they are the paint. They barely got into the paint against Kentucky because they weren't able to beat the versatility that Kentucky brings from a wing perspective. And then Louisville is just way quicker, right? So you're not able to beat those guys off the dribble. And that's the biggest thing. That's not going to get easier. You're not just going to randomly, get a speed boost like you do playing Mario Kart and suddenly jolt past some of these guys, right? The speed's going to be an issue all year. And unfortunately, that's going to limit what this team can do. They're still going to win games that they probably shouldn't, but they're going to lose games that they probably shouldn't. And I think that was the expectation. I think, after the first couple of games, right, when you saw them shoot 55-60% from three, make 14 threes, and then you saw them struggle a little bit against Lindenwood and some of those other, low major teams, right? So nothing significant has changed per se, but now because you've dropped the Minnesota game specifically, right? Even if they lost Louisville and Kentucky, I don't think there would have been a huge amount of panic. But the fact that they lost that Minnesota game, you're going back to the drawing board, and now you have what I think is a critical, first 2 weeks of January. If they're not able to not necessarily go unbeaten in that stretch, but win 3 games, you're looking at a team on the outside looking in, and not a lot of hope to beat a Michigan or to beat a Michigan State at this point.
Absolutely. Make sure you go to thehoosier.com, subscribe today, send me an email confirmation showing it to indianasportsbeat@gmail.com, and I will send you for free one of these red quarter zip IU embroidered and Indiana Sports Beat embroidered pullovers. And you get entered in the grand prize giveaway. Alec Lasley, thank you very much. Appreciate you, sir.
Appreciate it. Have a good one, Jim.
You bet. Hey, thanks to each and every one of you. It's always a blast. We've got post-game show coming up tomorrow after the basketball game with Scott Laskowski, and back on Monday after the college football playoffs this weekend. Go out, have yourself a good one. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.